All right, well, let's move on to what everyone's actually here for. So, I mean, people probably skipped forward to this in the podcast anyway. They probably, it's all they want to listen to. The Crusaders. Let's get it. Harry, give us a significant ins.
I've only got one giant name in front of me at the moment. That's Pablo Matera. Has come across from Stade Francais, and obviously the Argentinian national side in the Super Rugby. The Super Rugby competition, he was just unstoppable. So he's going to be an absolute weapon for them. And it's just an embarrassment of riches, really, in the loose forwards. They've also got, as we mentioned before, Te Teora Tahuriarangi. So he's a very big in, I think, at 9 for them with a lot of potential. Kini Naholo and his brother covering at the moment before the season starts. I don't know if you've heard of a Waseki Naholo. So if he picks up a full contract, that'd be pretty big. And then they've got a few other names, maybe not as big on the as recognisable though.
I'll rattle off some of these significant outs. Andrew Makaleo really hurting that hooker role as a bit of a backup for them. Michael Alatoa got bulk game time for them in recent years. Fetu Kamokamo Douglas, another, utility back rower, got lots of game time. Manasa Matayeli, we saw him break onto the scene a few years back, but, a few games towards the back end of last season and is still very impressive. And their stalwart, Luke Romano, coming off the bench almost every single week for the last, what feels like 10 years for them.
Yep, nice one. Look, I think we feel like we could read off like 2 or 3 team sheets here, but let's just go with the best 15 and then we can discuss in some key questions. So Joe Moody, All Black, number 1, easy. Cody Taylor, easy. Tight head, probably Ollie Jaeger to start with. We'll go with that. Locks, Sammy Whitelock, Scotty Barrett. I don't even know who captains the Crusaders this year, but probably one of them. Nels, why don't you take us into the back row?
Ethan Blackadder, he's just really started to develop into that perfect 6 for them, I believe. Pablo Matera, world class, one of the best players in the world in my eyes. Cullen Grace in that number 8 jersey. Mitch Drummond, probably going to be sharing game time again with Hall, but we've given him that preferred position at 9. And a player you might have also heard of, Richie Mo'unga.
Yeah, and Harry, some more players you might have heard of.
David Avili, Braden Ennor at centre. Lester Fanganuku, Sever Reese on the wing, and Will Jordan at the full-back position. I would just mention as well, I know Blackadder played some 7 for the All Blacks. Pablo Matera plays 6 for Argentina. I think the Argies play their open side as a 6, so that's why we've got him in the 7 jersey. So you will see him in a different number jersey, I suspect, this year.
Yeah, very exciting. How good was Ethan Blackadder as well? Sorry,
he was freakishly good.
Yeah. I think they sorry, no, I have to say they started referring to him like Chuck Norris jokes are now Ethan Blackadder references. the whole of the All Blacks started doing this is awesome.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Hey, question number 1: Rugby Fixation continues the trend of having bulk questions, and we're glad for it, I should say. What's the biggest obstacle this year for the Crusaders? And I think what he means by that is, how is it possible for them not to win again?
Selection, just the headache every week. That's,
Look, I've got a legitimate answer, and it's COVID.
Okay.
If they're all, one of them are getting it every week, and a bunch are having to isolate and not getting it to the following week and things, that is the only way we can disrupt this team.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know what their biggest obstacle is. They just have the most depth. They're winning this year. Let's just be frank. Harry, have you got anything? Because I literally can't think of an obstacle.
I do, but it links to my next question. So I said if Richie Mo'unga, he's got a clause to say that he can sit out up to 6 games of the year. And originally he was going to take the first 6 games, or there was suspicion he would take the first 6 games of the year out. Now they've changed the draw. He hasn't commented what he's going to do, because obviously that means he'd missed the vast majority of the Aotearoa games. But I think if Richie Mo goes down, I know David Avili's probably next cab off the rank. They've brought Simon Hickey in. They've got young Fergus Burke, but I don't think any of them are Richie Mo'unga. And I think they're still going to be one of the best teams in the competition, don't get me wrong. But if there's an obstacle that could make them not win the entire comp, that's probably the only one for me.
Look, I don't want to take anything away from Richie Mo'unga, but you could probably put any other 10 into the Crusaders and they'd still win.
What a horrible thing to say.
And speaking of that, mate, Fergus Burke, young Fergus Burke, he's been the 10 for Canterbury, the Canterbury NPC team the last 2 years.
How's that going? How's they going?
Well, okay, they haven't won. Canterbury's always up there in the top, though. I think just
Not
before the Tasman
Burke was 10, mate.
Just before, yeah, but have you seen the Tasman Marco team, mate? That's the rest of the Crusaders. But have you just before that, Canterbury I think won, like as many years in a row as the Crusaders are winning now, basically. Yeah. So I think they decided they had to split up the Cantab team and put them in other NPC teams. It wasn't fair. So we're waiting for them to do that with the Crusaders now. But anyway, Fergus Burke could be good. But I agree. If we had to pick an obstacle, there it is. Question for Nels.
I'm not sure we need to say how do they manage their ludicrous riches, because they've just got a million players, and if you're a fantasy manager, you just have them in your team no matter what. I don't know what you're going to do here to share game time. Like,
should we read the question?
Can you do it? Yeah, it says, how the hell do you manage the ludicrous riches in the backs? You can't manage that. It's too good. Someone's missing out. It's not fair. Something's not right here.
Yeah,
right.
Is there a legitimate answer?
Well, do you want to say are we saying they're going to rest some time? The players won't be playing consistently, except Will Jordan. Obviously, we're playing every week at 15.
That's basically what I was getting at. I was thinking, you're going to see Lester Fainga'anuku slide between wing and outside centre, Braden Ennor between probably 13, maybe a little bit of 12. You've also got, obviously, Jack Goodhue coming back. I think he's due back around about April or May from his knee injury, multi-ligament knee injury. That's 12 months out for him. So I think that kind of almost dodges a selection bullet there, that he's not going to have to be in the picture for a fair while. And then Che Fiaki, I think, is the other young gun that will probably be given a few games as well. But, when it comes down to it, you're probably going to see similar rotations to what you did last year.
So do we say then, are you safe bets Lester Fainga'anuku and just Will Jordan essentially in that back line? And then Sevu Reece, might need some rest time. We might see the right wing just one Naholo playing each week, Keeney and Waiseki.
It's pretty hard, isn't it? Like,
I don't think the right wing will be that, because don't forget you got George Bridge as well.
Yeah.
So I think Kini Naholo and Che Fiaki might get. I don't think Kini Naholo will play, to be honest. Fiaki will get a couple of games, and that's probably it against Moana Pacifica and Fiji or something. So no, I think no one's a sure thing, but most of them will play. The names that you recognise from last year will play 3/4 of the games each.
Fair. All right, well, let's move on to stocks rising.
Let's go. We'll go back to the notes again, Kagi. Will Te Teora Tahuriorangi move to the Crusaders pay off in 2022? Nelson.
Look, he's had a tough sort of few years sitting in a rotation policy at one point, and then really falling out of favour at the Chiefs. I don't think it's going to pay off for him necessarily in my eyes. He's definitely got the talent, but between Bryn Hall, Mitch Drummond, they've been there for a long time. They've had bulk minutes. I just don't see him, getting what he wants out of this squad if it is, a lot more minutes. So I think the answer is no for me, unless what he wants for this move is to get some experience with the Crusaders, then sure, he's going to learn from the Crusaders. But I don't think this is a long-term solution for him.
I think we forget that he was on the cusp. That he made the All Blacks.
He made the All Blacks.
He absolutely was killing it. But I agree with you. It'll be hard to just throw the last 5 years of winning Super Rugby off the back of a Mitchell Drummond Bryn Evans combo.
Drummond's 27 and Hall's 29. It's not like, these guys are in their 30s and looking to be done in a year or two, and Tahuriorangi's coming in there to be the next player.
I reckon there is an opportunity, to be honest. Last year was the first year that we saw Bryn Hall's minutes start to really drop in a long time. I think it's really a one-horse race for the starting jersey, and that's Drummond's. So, no, I don't think Tahuriorangi will start the year on the bench, but I think he will get a fair few minutes. And, I think he'd definitely fallen behind Xavier Rowe in the Chiefs setup as well. So I think there's an opportunity for him. And as you said, he was in the All Blacks squad once upon a time. So, anything could happen. There is a small door open for him.
I agree. Look, it's the only position that they don't have they have never had world-class players in. We've always said, imagine if the Crusaders had Aaron Smith or something. But so, opportunities there. And also particularly if Richie Mo'unga goes down, then maybe they will need something different. They need someone who plays a little different. So,
he was going to be second or third at best, more than likely at these two clubs. So not a huge change, but sure, a little bit of a door open.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. Well, rising, guys?
Yes.
Yes. Kagi, you're excited. You go for it, mate.
I can go for it. Okay. Well, we've talked about him, Pablo Matera. I mean, yeah, stock's rising. He's going to start every game and he's already awesome. And now he's in the most awesome team. So, yeah, like fantasy points are plenty, basically. He's fixed himself, really, doesn't he? And otherwise, Ollie Jaeger, he was behind. Michael Alaalatoa had worked his way up to being the starting tight head prop. There was Franks in front of him, but Mikey was there. And now with him departing, Ollie Jaeger's probably your first pick, your seasoned prop. He's got behind him, biting at his ankles, two very impressive youngsters in Fletcher Newell and we've just been learning that Tamati Williams, who was a loose head.
We haven't been, mate. You've been just learning.
Okay, I've been just learning. Tamati Williams, who I am extremely excited about, as a loose head, is wanted to really nail down a role as a tight head prop. So there is a lot of competition, but Ollie Jaeger's your experienced prop who's got a mortgage on that jersey. That's why he's in stocks rising. Who wants to take us through stocks falling?
Nelson, you go for it, mate.
Yeah, look, I'll happily do it. Tom Christie, he's a player with a huge work rate, had bulk tackles throughout, especially early on last season. He was really leading that stat, I'm pretty sure, in Super Rugby Aotearoa. But look, he's the unlucky one to miss out in this really talented back row squad for the Crusaders. So he's going to get a lot less game time. Pablo Matera is just absolutely world class. So sorry to say, Christy, we actually think you're a great player, but you're going down this year. Braden Anwar, there's a little bit of a question mark in terms of if his stocks are going to fall or what he's going to be doing. David Avili has definitely established himself as the 12. Goodhue's going to be back towards the mid part of the season. They've also got Fainga Anuku. So there is some question marks there. But look, I mean, I'd be leaning towards he's their first choice outside centre, and he will be on the paddock most weeks throughout the year. But with that question, do we see him moved around? Do we see him back on the bench? It could definitely hurt his fantasy points.
Yep, and you obviously also had Bryn Hall there, Nels, which we've discussed. For the Smokies, we had Tahuri Orangi, who we've discussed, and I think, an injury to Mitch Drummond midway through the season onwards, if he's managed to establish himself as the backup, could be a real opportunity, and he's obviously very exciting wherever he goes, but I think put him behind the Crusaders pack and it could be anything. And then Chafee Aki as well. We saw what a talented youngster he was last year with the limited opportunities that he did get. He's just another one off the ranks for the Crusaders that just lights it up. So if he gets some more time this year, he could be very exciting to watch and a good scorer for sure.
How good.